Shalom, and welcome to the Remnant Radio Vlog News number 3. This is the vlog news that will accompany our newsletter from Remnant Ramblings Newsletter on the topic of grounding or earthing. So look for the newsletter. Please subscribe. Go to remnantremedy.com if you would like to see the information, the articles, the promos, etc. for the different parts of ministry, radio teaching, online teaching with Messianic Lamb Radio, and pure Shemin essential oils, linen, and EMF shields. Anyway, I want to thank you for being here. I have a little thing special and different for you today, but let me just do a little preview here. This is going to be a short little video, and we're going to cover the topic of grounding and earthing. And the reason I'm doing this is because there was a gentleman, a brother in Messiah, who has a program, who did a rant on earthing and grounding and how it was demonic, and that, people were being ridiculous of going barefoot and they could get hookworms and get bit by snakes, etc. And I believe he had some really good points. And so I'm just going to kind of read through this, and I just want to appeal to our brother and those who may come to the conclusions that earthing and grounding are demonic. And I'm going to share some scientific information with you in the newsletter, and then in this part of the blog, and I'm just doing the intro, we've got a special guest who is a registered nurse, a holistic nurse, who will be sharing something with us. Okay, so because of the several inquiries we've had saying that earthing and grounding was demonic in nature, we got several emails and calls and texts stating, hey, do you see what's going on? Could you please respond? And so this is the only reason I'm really responding, because I didn't know that there wasn't quite a misunderstanding about it. I agree that our brother had a point, and that some people who are not followers of Elohim are doing earthing and grounding for the wrong reasons, and that they worship false gods. This is like a lot of things. People worship the stars and different, idols and things. But that doesn't mean that those things that are Elohim Alef Tav created are evil, because we worship him, and we are learning how to use and understand the tools and the things that he created for us for our benefit. These people that he referred to in the video may not be, using common sense and going around barefooted all the time. I don't know, because I'm not around those kind of people that earth or ground. I'm not around those kind of people who worship Mother Earth. But I do know that grounding has scriptural and scientific foundation of truth to it. There are many seasoned believers in the medical, scientific, and natural health fields who believe there is scientific and scriptural support for earthing and grounding. We do not want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, nor do we want to be demonized because we see the benefits of earthing and grounding. In fact, we believe that the understanding of such is what we need to do to reclaim and redeem what Elohim Alef Tav created from the very beginning, and that we need to take dominion over this. We believe that these natural health modalities, hydrotherapy, and earthing and grounding, and many other things, are part of what needs to be restored. These were things that were understood anciently, in ancient times and modern times. Even, 100 years ago, people knew and understand a lot of these things. It was just natural. They might not have had the science. They just knew that it worked. And it wasn't always accompanied by those who worship false gods. There is scripture to support wearing shoes, as our brother mentioned. But there's also scripture stating that, or giving instructions on how to handle the Ark of the Covenant, and or to be wearing linen. And the purpose of it was to reduce static, which that is actually stated in the scripture. And one of the things is, depending on where you live, living in the Northwest during cold, dry winters, depending on where you're at, you build up a lot of static that when you get to the grocery store or get in and out of your car, you get zapped big time. And for some people, some more than others. And it actually has to do with what you're wearing, whether or not you're being grounded. Are you wearing a lot of synthetics on your socks, on your shoes? We don't have pure 100% cotton socks, 100% cotton underwear, hardly at all. I mean, it's really hard to look for these things. And they're healthier for the body and the immediate environment around the body, but they're also healthier, which we have not understood until lately, that it has to do with the electromagnetic field in and around our bodies. The scientists call it our biophoton field. New Agers may call it the aura, but may I remind you that the word aura comes from, I believe, the word or, which is light in Hebrew. And we can now, with digital technology, measure the light and energy around our bodies. A lot of medical equipment does exactly that people have no problem with when they go to the hospital or a diagnostic center. And one thing we need to keep in mind, that they had to wear certain things and be barefooted in certain areas in ancient Israel, especially dealing with the Ark of the Covenant. And there are rocket scientists and people, engineers, who have done papers on the Ark of the Covenant that basically, I've heard from two different sides that it was either a transformer of energy and or a battery. And there was a proper way to handle it, and the poles and the instructions on how to build it and everything were there from a scientific point of view, so that you could carry it and handle it in a proper way without being killed. And we have to understand that the power, the energy of the living Elohim was with the people of Israel. And the people that did have shoes, they wore leather shoes or some kind of plant-based material. Maybe it was hemp shoes, maybe it was flax linen shoes, in such a way that when they were walking, they weren't building up static in the body. They had good shoes to walk in that wasn't full of synthetic. And it also allowed their feet to sweat and the meridians in the body to pour out the feet. I mean, that's why, today, try to buy a pair of shoes or tennis shoes that's affordable, if you can even find a more expensive one that's not affordable, that is pure leather or pure made out of material that lets your body breathe. And this is why we have, so much infection and we have to throw our shoes away. They don't last. Pretty much, I think, unless you're a cowboy with real leather boots, you're going to have some issues with your feet and your body. We believe there is scriptural content that points to the fact that we are not just spiritual, but also physical living stones of light and energy. We even have found and discovered that we have crystals, rock forms of, they call them nanocrystals in our blood. And so in that sense, when we read the scriptures about we are a temple of light, we're a body of light, we are to shine the light, we are living stones, we are the living stones tabernacle, the Torah is light, our Yeshua is the light of the world. That spark, that energy that is beyond what we can really comprehend is light and energy, and he wants to flow through his people. The witnesses will speak out fire or the word, electromagnetic frequencies and energy of the Debar, the living word. So the number one way that our body's cells communicate is via the nervous system, which is electricity. When we have thoughts, it's electromagnetic frequency or energy. We suggest you might want to study, she's a Christian, Dr. Caroline Leaf, who's a neuroscientist, been studying herself for like the last 10 years. So I encourage you to do that. The second way our bodies communicate is via the hormonal system, from hormones. But the number one way is through the electrical system, which we call the nervous system in our body. And, an electrician or someone surely understands that our bodies need to ground. Science has proven that our thoughts, like I said, are energy and light. And the world was created with the energy and light of thought and sound by our Creator. I also recommend that you read the article that we'll be posting in the newsletter that we provided. Actually, it was Brooke, my special guest today, who provided it in the research. And so we're so thankful for her for that medical research. And it's an article that was published in the Journal of Environmental Public Health on the website for the United States National Library of Medicine for the National Institute of Health. So I have a special treat for you in this vlog news. We're going to get a word from my friend and holistic registered nurse of over 24 years, Brooke Lounsbury. Brooke has authored several books on digestive health, sleep, probiotics, and others for nursing practitioners in the medical field. She recently authored a book on digestive gut health for children called Fermi's Journal, Fermi's Journeys, which we have and will provide for sale as a PDF download at remnantremedy.com. Go there and then click on pureshemin.com and you will be able to download the book. So if you're a parent and you want to sit down, or a grandparent, and you want to sit down and learn about gut health, you can do this. Sit down with your child. She's included a coloring page so that you can read to your children about why it's important about gut health, and you can learn yourself. Homeschoolers, you also want to pay attention to this. So, Brooke continues to research using tools of both the Bible and science. Her passion is to return to what has been lost in the generations, which is the basics of how to take care of yourself and your family before the advent of modern Western medicine. She lives in Idaho with her husband, who works as a physician's assistant in a local clinic. We are in and entering more days akin or alike to the days of the book of Exodus, wherein going to Pharaoh's allopathic system can compromise not just our health, but our very lives. There is a place and a time to go to the medical system. We're thankful for the doctors and the tools that they have. But that is not our primary way. And that way has become very encroached with darkness. And people who are believers, who want natural health, people who are God's people, we won't even go. That'd be shows and shows of what happens to people and what can happen to people and what has happened to people. So we want to be able to take care of ourselves as much as we can, and these are simple things that we can learn. Hydrotherapy doesn't cost anything except for water. Earthing doesn't cost anything unless you want to buy a special pad for earthing, etc., for grounding. So Brooke has a passion, and she wants to restore what the last two generations have lost. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a little video that Brooke made. It starts out, she's not speaking, but she's walking out through the snow with shoes on until she gets to the place where she's going to ground her feet. And I just want to thank Brooke Lounsbury for sharing this with us. And we hope that we will see you in the newsletter when we send it out. And again, thank you. This is Nitsa Moshe from Remnant Remedy. And you can visit us at remnantremedy.com and our 3 different stores, pureshemin.com, the one for the EMFs and one for linens. And then we have videos, we have articles, and we have radio archives. And we would love to hear from you. And you can join us on Facebook, Nitsa Moshe, and like us at Remnant Remedy. And again, I humbly submit this to you, brother, to please consider and try to see that we worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We do not worship his creation, but we are in awe of it, and we believe that he wants to show us, and we want to learn from him so that we can walk together in health and in the days to come. Thank you, and now let's go to Brooke.
You may wonder why I'm doing this. Why did I walk out into the snow, into my greenhouse, and why am I taking my shoes off? And why am I putting my feet on the ground? Well, Mr. Zachary Bauer, it's just a little reply to your YouTube video that you did. I want to thank you, though, for bringing it up, a very important topic of grounding. And the fact that if you're not careful in some places, you can have problems with your feet. See how I've got my feet on the ground there? Right now, this is the sole reason why I wanted a greenhouse. Because I have studied the effects of grounding and what it can do for your body. I talked about this a few years ago on my radio program, and now I'm bringing it to light that we can definitely do something about this. We can be healthier. Okay, I'm moved inside now, and it's the next day. My video quality was terrible, and so I decided to come on in. Now, let's start over again. This is talking about it's a rebuttal to Mr. Bauer's video last week on grounding and how he calls it pagan practice and we're worshiping Mother Earth and not to do it, and generally overall just dismissing it. Well, I find it a very important part of our holistic lifestyle as we move into this time, this very dark time where we may not want to always go to the doctor or to the hospital if we can help it because of prevention, because we are going into a time where our values and our relationship with the Creator could be compromised by what goes on inside those places. So he did bring up also the fact that you can get, if you're in certain parts of the world, I guess in the southeast, which is I think where he lives, that you can contract a hookworm. And he also mentioned something about having massive calluses on your feet. Well, first of all, let's go through many of these points. Let me explain what earthing is, and it's from a research-based article that I'll be linking to. I'm going to be reading from it. Now remember, Adam was formed from the earth. Our Creator formed Adam from the earth. So, if that's the truth, which I believe it is, I believe the Bible, that Adam was formed from the earth. We worship the Creator and not Mother Earth, which would be the created. That God created the earth, and then from that earth He brought forth Adam. So why doesn't it make sense to us to be able to connect back to the earth, which is what we were formed out of? So first of all, let me explain what earthing is, and then some of the claims that he has and some of the benefits of earthing. I will be going into it more next week and showing you a few of the little things that we do. Today, the grounding was one of them yesterday, since this is the next day. Placing my feet directly on the ground for 20 minutes to an hour. I do not walk around barefoot constantly and get those big calluses that he was talking about. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, earthing, which is known as grounding, I'm reading from an article that I'll have a link to. It's off of a site. It's called, let's see, Earthing, Health Implications of Reconnecting the Human Body to the Earth's Surface Electrons. And it was written in January of 2012, and it was from the Journal of Environmental and Public Health. So I'll go ahead and start reading it again. Earthing, also known as grounding, refers to contact with the Earth's surface electrons by walking barefoot or sitting, working, or sleeping indoors connected to conductive systems, some of them patented, that transfer the energy from the ground into the body. Emerging scientific research supports the concept that the Earth's electrons induce multiple physiological changes of clinical significance, including reduced pain, better sleep, a shift from sympathetic, which is your flight or fight type of a reaction,
you're in that mode, to parasympathetic, which is, they call it the rest and digest mode, and in the autonomic nervous system, and a blood thinning effect. The research, along with many other anecdotal reports, is presented in a new book entitled Earthing. I've never read the book, but I read up on and found plenty of information that maybe the pagans are doing this and it's a type of their Mother Earth worship. But it certainly isn't for me, and I think we can really throw the baby out with the bathwater if we're not careful. So on one of these, subjective, which was sleep, pain, this is one of the studies, and well-being feedback. Now the test subjects, let me read this. In a blinded pilot study, they recruited 60 subjects. That's not a lot, but still, we're looking at this. Plus there's several other reports of this and different studies. And these people suffered from self-described sleep disturbances and chronic muscle and joint pain for at least 6 months. Subjects were randomly divided for the month-long study, in which both groups slept on a conductive carbon fiber mattress pad provided by Ober. I think that's the gentleman who put this study together. Half the pads were connected to a dedicated earth ground outside each subject's bedroom window, while the other half were sham grounded, or they're not connected. They didn't know which was which. So for time to fall asleep, the test subjects stayed, time to fall asleep. The ones that stayed the same were 15% and improved were 85% for the test subject. Now the same control subject, which means that they weren't hooked up or anything, they stayed the same for 87%, and 13%, which is considered the placebo effect, were improved. So you see an 85% approval with being hooked up compared to the approval of 13 of the placebo effect. Quality of sleep was the same for the test, was 7%, and 93% was improved for the test subject. For the control subjects, it was 87% was the same, and 13% was improved. Now, I'll drop down here to the one that I thought was pretty interesting, or two of them. Muscle stiffness and pain. For the test subject, 18% were the same, 82% were improved. For the control subjects, 100% stayed the same, none improved. Chronic back and joint pain, 26% were the same for the test subjects, 74% were improved. And for the control subjects, ones that weren't hooked up to anything at all, it was 100% stayed the same. They were not improved. So, we just have to be careful with throwing, like I said, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You can look at all kinds of things. The use of herbs could be taken to, have been used in pagan rituals. And like I said, we're moving into a very dark place where we're not going to be able to utilize these services without compromising our values. So while things are relatively calm on the world stage, let's just start learning about these things, these alternative therapies that Father has for us, and let's make the best of it. And like I said, next week this will be part 2 of grounding. This is just an introduction and rebuttal. And I welcome anybody to add to this, and just hope that you have a blessed week.